So we'll open our meeting. I have 6:32 in the evening, so this is the May 12th virtual meeting of the Town of Rutland Planning Board. I'm going to open it by reading an announcement regarding the virtual meeting guidelines or whatever. This meeting of the Planning Board is being recorded for transmission on Rutland Public Access Television and YouTube pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people who may gather in one place. This meeting of the Town of Rutland Planning Board will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific interest in the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found at the Rutland's website at townofrutland.org. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so in the following manner by watching Rutland Community Television live on channel 192 and on the town's website, www.townofrutland.org, or by viewing a recording of the meeting on the town's YouTube page following the meeting. No person in attendance. Once again.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Rutland's website a video recording, meeting minutes, and other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Okay, have we had anyone else join in?
I mean, Dick is trying to get in. He misplaced the access, the URL. So I just directed him to go to the agenda, and that is a link he should be able to click directly onto.
Okay.
Norm?
Hopefully he can join us in a few minutes.
Norm?
Okay, I am seeing 13 participants.
Yep, Norm, that's what I see too. And one's Rutland CTV. I think that's Mr. Williams for number 14.
Okay.
Hello?
Hi, Marilyn.
Hello.
I was muted for a while, so.
Oh.
You can always go in and unmute on your computer.
Yeah, I don't dare to do too much. I'm just lucky. I'm very thankful that I got this far.
Okay, I still don't see Dick. Or Sean.
No.
Let's wait a couple of minutes.
Norm, do we have any supermajority items on tonight? I don't think so.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
Here's Dick right now. You have 4 out of 5.
There we go. Hey!
Dick, you there?
Yes, I am.
All right. Good.
Sorry, I'm a little late. Don't know how to run these things. This machine.
Okay. Let's see, I'm seeing Tim, Dick. Okay. Joanne's iPad.
It must be Maryland.
And Dave, you're using Mike's call-in number, but your cell phone, correct?
I'm using Mike as the host. I'm using the telephone.
Yep. Okay, good. That's what I want. I saw Mike Nicholson, and I'm like, I think that's the host, not Mike himself.
Yeah, I can always change that if I like. I can appear twice. See?
All right, so the only one we're missing is Sean.
Okay, seems to me he had some problems last time as well. Well, shall we start?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I guess the first thing is reviewing minutes of our last meeting.
6:30, what, 6:34? Open?
I opened at 6:32 actually.
6:32, okay. All right, in our handout, on second page, Tim, I need your verification. Was it you that inquired about the 15-foot landscape construction easement, or was it I? I thought I did.
Yeah, you did, and then I questioned it on top of that. I had questions too.
Okay.
So at the top, that should be Dick, not Tim.
Is Tamika there?
Yep, I'm here. I'm sorry. I had a hard time unmuting myself. Yes, I can make that change.
Okay. And to the rest of the board, the next one is Alta Vista Farm. Just for heads up, in the future, I'd like to have some kind of a map of the APR properties in Rutland, because after we went and voted on it, you know, I know that Mr. Mann had APR on most of that property. But was that piece that we voted on, hopefully it did not have the APR on it.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
How, Norm, how do we get that? Is that a request from?
I would assume that would be from the assessors.
Okay, good point.
Actually, I can verify this, that land is not an APR. I have a wetlands resource map from DEP, from DCR rather. This has the APR on it, and as well as the zones, the primary zone and the secondary primary zone. And the land that Mr. Javi would like to develop is not listed as APR.
Okay, good.
Okay, yeah.
All right, good. But I think in the future it would be nice to have something like that just to make sure that we know too.
I can try to remember to work that into the staff comments on items to just indicate in situations where it's warranted to make that comment, whether or not such a land is or is not in the APR.
David, this is a question, and maybe to Norm's point with the assessor. Do you think there's a PDF that has all that land laid out for the town of Rutland?
I believe so, yeah. I'm not sure exactly where it is, but I know that there is one. I'm looking at one right here, which is the DCR map, so.
Okay. Well, maybe that's, Norman, just an email to the assessor to get sent to the planning board. We'll all have it as reference in the future.
Would be a good idea.
Then the next thing that I have is down a little bit further, Brice Estate, Cherry Way, and further back from Zone A, someplace in there. Add in about houses not to be built on the right of way. I asked Clee about that, and he said that they will not be built on the sewer and water line. I just want to make sure that it's in the minutes.
Okay.
And if you don't mind, I'll move on to the next page. Subdivision Development Administration, Brice-Lemon, and next to the last line, it says, board is also waiting for plans that show matching contour lines. Have we received that? I know it's not part of the minutes, but I just want to put it out there so that it can be answered.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Sean. Yep.
Okay, so I was in the middle of cooking.
All right, Dick, are you looking for the map for the rail trail contour lines?
Well, yes, it wasn't there one that was supposed to be. I don't know if the ones that in the back of that folder. Which one is the correct one?
Cleve was supposed to give us like the contour lines where he was making all those changes to that retention pond too, so we could see all that.
That's correct.
Right. So I would just add in the minutes that I requested the letter from 2/6 on the board's behalf, where the board was looking for all this information. That letter was resent to Mr. Blair last time, and he has not responded to it. So all we have is what's in the packet. We do not have the updated map that shows the contour lines and all the other things that the board requested.
Well, Norm, how do we get tough about this?
Well, you know, I don't know. I may be looking at this the wrong way, but where he is going to have to bring in fill in order to make that actual access to the rail trail, it would almost seem to me that it would be better that he establish those contour lines after he's put the fill in. I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are on it.
My only I agree with you. I like to have somebody have a plan of what they're going to do than just sort of doing it. I guess what I was saying is I was looking for something. So if Quinn's going out there and he's filled it and done the contours, they've got something to check instead of waiting on a copy or a plan to come in after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't have a problem if he gave us something and there was minor changes to it down the road. But right now we don't have anything.
And what bothers me is the fact I was just there this afternoon. He's building houses left and right up there, but yet he's not doing what he was supposed to do in phase 1 before he started phase 2. And to me, that I'm just upset with the fact that him not just grabbing the bull by the horn and just get this thing done.
Well, I thought he wasn't allowed to occupy the houses. I thought he was allowed to build before phase 1 was complete. I just thought he wasn't allowed to occupy. He wasn't going to be issued occupancy permits.
Well, the people living in the houses way up in the back there. So
on phase 2?
On up near the very end, where that house is way up in the bank and up on the right, the house right there, the last house on the left, is occupied.
Yeah, I didn't think he was allowed to do that. Yeah, we need to go back over the minutes and actually double check that.
Yeah, Dave, could you inquire about that?
Yes, we can follow up tomorrow with a call. You can give me some assistance on what the board's looking for exactly.
Hello.
Well, just something
I have a note to that effect.
Thank you. I'm going to call you back tomorrow because I'm in a meeting here.
something to the effect that phase one needed to be accepted before he was allowed to occupy the houses in phase two.
I can look into it. I thought we've already looked into that question. We found out that there was no such restriction.
Okay.
That's kind of what I'm thinking, simply because I don't really think we can do that.
Okay.
I may be
Well, let's get back to the rail trail, if I may.
Yep.
Through the chair.
Yep.
It shouldn't take long to have a printout of exactly what he plans to do. Do you think you can have it submitted by the next meeting? Some type of plan drawn out by needs?
I think it's worthwhile to send out another request at least.
Because the one he drew, the one he sent out with the red lines, I mean, I think he really needs to be specific on how much fill, what the walkway is going to look like. And I think it really has to be detailed.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the access to the rail trail is still subject to our approval after he does put it in. If we don't like what he did, he's going to have to change it.
Yeah, that's why if he had a plan that we could agree upon, that it will simplify that.
I'm almost a little bit hesitant there that if he submits a plan of exactly what he's going to do, and then once it's done, we go over and take a look at it, we don't like what he's done, then we're stuck with it.
Well, are we legally, though, if he had a plan already drawn up and stamped and everything? Or is that something we can't do? Because then he'll be liable for constructing it the way it's printed out.
Like I say, if we accept that as a legal part of his plan, and he builds it according to that, then we're done.
Yeah, well, we'll have to give it the approval first. I mean, he'll have to bring in graphic drawings of what the walkway is going to look at. Is it going to be a dirt trail, or is it going to be stoned, crushed gravel? I mean, some type of actual drawing, like other builders have done on what the building, like I'm thinking back to Mr. Lucier, how he brought in pictures of what those houses were supposed to look like. So if Clee can do something to that effect, computer graphic it, whatever that CAD, I think it's called CAD, give some type of drawing on what it's going to look like. Then we have an idea. And then if it looks at least similar to what he has, I would be okay with it if we approved it first.
Norm, I think what Sean's asking for, and I somewhat agree, is there's no reason Clee can't do a conceptual design.
Yes, that's it.
And put that before the board. That doesn't lock him into doing that exact, but a conceptual design so we can actually see where he's going with it. And then at that point, we could give him advice or comments. Right now, we got nothing. And I'm just afraid, this is to Marilyn's point, of giving forgiveness after it's been done.
Yeah.
I really don't want to go down that path.
Yeah. I could certainly agree on a conceptual plan.
Yeah,
that's the word I was looking for, conceptual, not CAD.
So I'll
Quite a
follow
while
up.
since we've been asked to do this.
So I'll follow up with Mr. Blair to request a proposed conceptual plan relative to the rail trail and an answer to the questions that the board has already asked.
Yes.
All right.
Can we, Norm, since to David's point, we've been asking this since February. I'm starting to get a little frustrated.
Mhm.
This is now May going into June.
I have to agree, and I know one of the things he cited, I don't know if it was at our last meeting or whatever it was, that it had been so wet that he didn't really want to bring any, fill in there at that point. It's not that wet now.
Correct.
And I was over there yesterday afternoon, and obviously he has not done anything with it.
And there wasn't that much water in the detention pond either.
Now, I understand that his business, as in all construction businesses, are deemed essential. But how is his labor force doing? I mean, do we know if anybody? I mean, if he's having problems having people be able to work it, I understand that with nothing to be done. I hate to give anybody the benefit of the doubt in this situation, right, that we're going through, at least until they open the state back.
Well, they're building a house across from me, and it's going up pretty fast.
Okay.
Well, yeah, they're definitely building houses, but I did definitely noted when I was over there on Monday that there was not a single piece of excavation equipment moving.
Okay.
Not a single one. They're all just sitting there. Nobody in them. Nobody driving. They are working on the houses, but that's the extent of what they're doing.
You needed a license to operate those, right? So if he's got a sick guy that can't operate it, I mean, I don't know what to say.
He had somebody running it today.
Okay.
And working on the next one coming back down towards the detention pond, and on the lower part of it. So somebody
got one
running
guy.
the amount of trucks that you see on the Martelli trucks. They're still running pretty good.
So it seems at this point he should be able to be doing some work on that.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Norm wanted to. I didn't know how to put some teeth towards this third letter that we've been putting out. Is I think it's called strike 3 for as far as I'm concerned.
I think that's about as much teeth as we can.
Okay, good enough.
The bottom line is still when he goes for acceptance.
Yeah. Okay. And the last thing I've got on roll call vote, I fell out of the meeting prior to that, so I was not, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think I was there at the end of the meeting.
No, Dick, I thought you called back in. We didn't have video, but we had you on the cell phone.
But I called it quits.
He did leave early. He did.
That was my error. I'll change that. Sometimes I copy and paste it instead of retyping it, so that was my mistake, and I'll fix it.
Okay.
Okay, good.
And that's all I have. I make a motion to accept.
Actually, Dick, if I could, I had one thing I just would like to see added to the minutes under Maple Hill Estates. Mr. Blair indicated that if the board wanted a conservation restriction of the type approvable by the Commonwealth, that he would go along with that. I don't see that reference in the minutes, though.
Wouldn't that be Concom's deal, though, not ours?
No, the conservation restriction is a requirement of the special permit for the open space design option.
Okay.
And it's subject of the next item on the agenda.
Dave, you are correct too. I remember him saying that if that's what has to happen, that's what has to happen.
So, Dave, just to be clear, you would like me to add that Mr. Blair indicated that he is okay with moving forward with the conservation restriction set forth by the Commonwealth. Is that correct?
He's agreeable to moving, he's agreeable to having a conservation restriction of the type approvable by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts if the board determines such.
Okay.
So if that's what the board wants, that's what he would do.
Okay. I will add that.
Second.
Any further questions or comments on the minutes?
No.
All in favor by roll call?
Marilyn Saboti, aye.
Sean Moore, aye. Maybe next time for a roll call, Norm, you can call people's names out, and then we can say aye.
I can do that.
That way?
Yeah, if I
Okay.
can remember everybody's name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tim Norwald, aye.
Did I hear Dick?
I think I was on top of Sean.
Okay. Norm Anderson, aye. Okay. I don't know. Let me see. Minutes, mail, invoices, correspondence. Dave, do you have anything particular?
Nothing at this point.
Okay. And we have no A&Rs. So, next on the agenda is Maple Hill Estates, including the conservation restriction, revised plans, and outstanding fee. I noticed in our packet we did have a couple of plans on Maple Hill. Dave, are those the revised plans?
Yes, as you'll also see, there's a Quinn Engineering report
Right.
from a recent site visit. That site visit references updated store plans and profile at the request of the DPW director.
Okay.
So the plans that are in there are the revised plans as per the memo from Quinn.
Okay.
That would be page 2, a bullet point starting on 4/23/20. I received an email. Then it's revised site plan 4/22 and revised profile 4/22.
Okay.
1 second, honey.
And do we have anything? I was gonna say, I'm having real problems getting all the way through this whole packet. It's turning into a book.
Norm, I read the latest one, the latest email that Amy had sent to Dave, and again, to get through all this legal jargon, I think, in my opinion, the bottom line is they've got to conform to the Commonwealth's definition of conservation restriction, not conservation easement. So, I mean, that to me, and David, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but that's what I gather out of all of the discussions with Amy and her and when she consulted with Sharon Everett.
Right, so as you'll see, if you're going in order in the packet, you'll see that there's, the restriction is sent again from Ms.
Tim, is that a motion?
After that, there's the case law. Today, in response to that case law, we got the response back from town council, and their basic line is that they have not changed their opinion based upon what was sent to them. So, and Tim, I agree with your assessment of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my point being is that this is already recorded. So, do we have to do anything with this at this point, or just leave it as is, as we approved it months ago?
Well, I think since the board is discussing this, the board should take some action to close this out.
Okay.
To close the discussion out as to which type of conservation restrictions the board would like. I mean, I will just add that the decision references the conservation restriction approvable by the Commonwealth.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, that was number 9 in our decisions for the open space.
That sounds about right. The condition is attached as an excerpt in this.
So, I guess, barring any other discussion, do I need to make a motion to adhere to section 9 of the special permit open space design option decision for 0 Maple Ave?
It wouldn't hurt to be clear and exact as to what the board's going to do as far as this discussion goes, and how this discussion ends.
Through the, I guess through the chair, Norm, I think number 9 basically it calls out the conservation restriction pursuant to Mass General Law section or chapter 184, section 31 through 32 shall be approved by the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs and be recorded at the Worcester County Registry of Deeds prior to issuance of the first certificate of occupancy for a house subdivision decision.
Yeah. Where there's still been, an awful lot of discussion on this, I think it would be appropriate to have a motion to simply say that we are going to require that the conservation restriction be one acceptable to the state.
Okay, I
I'll
guess.
second that one, Norm.
Yeah, I'm fine with that because it still reiterates, Norm, our number 9 on our special permit, correct?
Right.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay. Any further discussion on that?
No.
Okay, vote. Roll call. Let's see. Marilyn,
Marilyn Sidoti, aye.
Sean,
Sean Moore, aye.
Dick,
Williams, aye.
Tim,
Tim Narwhal, aye.
and Norm Anderson, aye. Did I forget anybody?
No, I thought it was.
No.
Okay.
So do we need to send the applicant a formal letter saying that our decision upon their request is denied? We're staying with the number 9 definition that's approved by the state.
I think the way I can take care of it is to just inform as to what the board did, citing the minutes once the minutes are complete.
Okay.
We're in
Yeah.
a draft form, so I'll just send that out.
All right. Good enough.
Okay. Do we have anything else on Maple Hill Estates?
And it just, the only thing I would suggest that from now on, when we come up with open space planning, we better have a good hard look and make sure it's a good CR.
I agree.
Yep. After reading all of this, my mind is floating elsewhere.
Norm, this is Tamika, if I may. This may be in reference to what Dave had put as outstanding fee, but when I was last in the Maple Hill account, only about $221 left in there.
Oh boy.
Okay, I know, I'm pretty sure, Dave, you have sent a letter to Mr. Blair.
Yes, and that letter's in the packet.
Yeah. So, it's not in the red yet, right?
Not yet. Nope. I paid a recent Quinn bill, and that's what brought the balance down to around $2.
Well, all I'll say is if it goes into the red, our option will be to simply stop any further inspections until he coughs up the money.
It's too bad that he can continue working. That's the problem.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little bit more drastic than that. If they're in the red and we've sent them multiple letters, again, I'm not looking to put anybody out of business, but we can't keep giving freebies out. So I guess my thought process is it goes over to the building inspector to shut them down until we get brought back up.
Well, he's not building any houses on Maple Hill.
No, but is he putting in the roads? The Teresa Drive?
Right now, he's, I believe, just working on infrastructure, the sewer and water.
All right. So that's Chief Buckley's realm then. All right. Well, let's just see what happens. It's just my frustration is here we go with a letter. All right, I'm going to give him. This says May 6th on it. So, but David, is this our first or second letter to him indicating that we need the outstanding fee?
Right, so according to the letter, the letters will follow up on the matter of the fee, the outstanding fee.
From May,
This is referencing the planning board's March 10th meeting of 2020, where the board discussed the outstanding fee on the project. And it was indicated at that time of the meeting that the monies would be forthcoming.
Yeah, so here we are 2 months later and still nothing. All right. I guess, Norm, you know where I'm going. I'm just tired of this.
Well, I agree.
I feel like we're like traffic cops and bankers chasing people down. So.
Well, if I may, through the chair, we those letters. I don't want to call it a threat because it's not. But if we don't get it by a specific date, then we can get an ultimatum maybe in the letter, because we haven't. It wasn't otherwise stated. So, like with a lot of the laws, if it's not really stated that we're not really going to do anything if he doesn't pay it, then he doesn't really have to. I mean, he can get around that. But if we specifically say, if not by this date, you will be.
Sean, I think the only thing, and Norm, you can tell me if I'm wrong. We don't have any enforcement
That's correct.
ability.
Right.
We can only go through the chiefs and or the building inspector, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Requesting.
Yeah.
I was just trying to look for teeth.
Yeah. Like I say,
We
we,
need to write
you know,
something in the subdivision rules regs or someplace in the bylaws for this. We need to have teeth.
like I say, the one thing we can do is we can stop any inspections, and if he does work without it being inspected, then we can make him dig it all back up again.
All right.
Good point. Good point.
But that would take a letter we'd have to send to Quinn, basically stopping them from doing any more work, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Well, do we internally in this meeting set a time frame that if we don't hear back with a check or something in 2 weeks, we're going to issue a letter to Quinn to stop inspections? Since this is the second letter, I think 2 weeks is fair enough, because if he gets it this week, say 2 weeks from today on the 26th, if we haven't heard anything back, our next meeting, we basically, maybe we need a vote to send a letter to Quinn to shut the project down or shut the inspections down.
Did you put that in the letter?
Well, that's what I was thinking, but the letter's already been sent. David already got it out, if I'm not mistaken, on May 6th.
Well, it would just be
A follow-up letter?
a follow-up letter.
Yeah. I don't know what the board's thought is, but that's mine. I'm tired of chasing.
Yeah.
Is there something that Dave can look up at what other towns do in this instance?
Sure, I can take a look at it, although I'm thinking that the board's instinct is probably the right one on this, is that the inspections have to happen in order for the road to be accepted someday. And if there can be no inspections, then it's going to be difficult to accept the road. If the work gets done anyways at his own risk, it has to be undone so that inspections can happen. That's probably going to be a financial consequence, which may not be desirable. So I think the board's instinct is probably correct to check in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would understand if he was a, you know, my parents always said, if you can, you know, just let people know why it's not being paid, you can get a second chance, but he hasn't even, it just does seem like we're being ignored. And I understand he's a busy man, but he's got people, I'm sure, that does that job for him.
So somewhere there was some mention that he was having trouble with the banks. I'm assuming freeing up money. I'll take that with a grain of salt.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, but fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, or whatever, you know how it is. Whatever Lincoln said, Benjamin Franklin, I don't know. I'm sorry. It's been a rough day.
Okay.
Norm, to Sean's point, I'm just tired of chasing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we need to, and maybe we'll get a check next week and everything will be squared away. It seems like when we push the issue, the checks show up the next day.
So, well, do we want to send that follow-up letter?
I think it's a good idea. I don't think that's my thought process is have a follow-up letter saying it in 2 weeks. If we don't have anything, there's going to be discussions about stopping inspections until the bills are caught up.
Mm-hmm. Is that okay with you, Dave?
Sure.
Do we need a motion on that?
I make the motion that we send a follow-up letter to Dave's letter on May 6th, indicating that we are giving Blair Corporation or 2 weeks to bring their accounts up based upon the May 6th letter, or we will take action here too. That sounds like good legal terms.
I'm sure Dave can clean that up a little. Did I hear a second on that?
Yes, you did. I did.
Okay. Okay. Let me see. In favor, Marilyn.
Hun?
Tim.
Aye.
Sean.
Aye.
Dick.
Aye.
Norm. Aye.
You could get me as an I.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else regarding Maple Hill?
No.
Nope.
Okay, onward to Brice-Lemon.
Well, I think I said to all of you people last week I took a walk out there
Yeah.
and was never so shocked in my life. There was problems with the wetlands in a couple of places. To me, though, the biggest thing was 45-degree angle on part of that property was horrific. Norm, how the heck did we ever allow something like
You know, I do remember walking it, but only vaguely, and I know that there is
Even
a
the logger, I think
stretch. Hmm?
Yep.
I
It
know
was.
that
And he
there's a
almost
stretch
tipped his-
near Main Street that is definitely.
Could you push the volume up, Paul?
Yeah. And the logger said he almost tipped his skidder over twice. So that's how bad it was.
Yeah.
Very nervous. And just to let you gentlemen know that I called DEP and they called me back and they're on top of it. They do know the problems. And also I have contacted DCR. They're involved with it also.
Okay, that's good.
Because in our order, in not our conditions, but in our subdivision regulations, on such steep bankings, they're not supposed to be cutting all the trees. They're supposed to be only cutting for the right of ways and for the house lots and any easements. So,
Dick, can I ask you a question? Is the Concon involved in any of this? Do you know?
I sent an email to Peter, so he's involved, but he turned around and said that DEP has an overriding order of conditions supersedes the Concoms.
Okay, all right. So it's in their boat right now, so to speak.
Yep.
Okay, good enough. Thank you.
And just to let everybody on this video here, when I was there, I could not believe the stink coming out of that pump station. I asked the logger, I says, is this something that happens off and on? Or he says, you ought to be here around 10 o'clock in the morning. He says, I have to get the heck out of here. It's so bad. And to me, I don't know what the heck it is, but.
That should be a sealed system.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going on. So just to let you guys know, when I was walking by it, I just couldn't believe it.
Which pump station are you talking about?
Main Street.
Really?
Wow.
Yep.
Well, maybe we should let the health inspector know.
You mean Blair's secretary?
Well, from a standpoint of if they do have a leak or if they've got a gas release, Rutland should know about that.
True.
If I may interrupt, I'm sorry. On Joanne's iPad, Joanne, I can hear you guys shooting pool. If you could hit the mute button on your, you can still hear us, but we can't hear you.
I put them on mute.
Thank you. I keep hearing pool balls being clacked together.
Yeah. Okay.
So do we need to talk with Chief Buckley, or is that just a phone call? Haven't checked. What I'm getting at is typically something like that you'd go over with a gas meter and see what kind of levels of gas you got. If you got any methane gas coming out or anything like that, that could be A, toxic, B, explosive.
Wow. Manhole covers explode in Rutland.
Yeah. I'm just.
Is that
I'm a gas guy from
something I should?
utilities. If there's a smell and there's odor, there's a potential for problems.
Is that something I should call and talk to Joe myself?
Dick, I can do it tomorrow too, if you want me to.
Is it possible to speak? I'm Maria from 69 Woodside Ave. I walk every day to phase 2 with my son. And about a couple of days ago, I walked by the pumping station on Woodside Ave, and there was a stench coming from the pumping station in our community. Now, we've had problems with our infrastructure, and I'm not sure if it has been fixed, but that's something that we're still struggling. And I don't know if that's something that the inspector can look at all of that infrastructure, especially since we're going to be in charge of this infrastructure. I feel that there needs to be somebody that really knows what they're doing before the town takes it over.
Okay, as far as anything regarding the sewers, the homeowners are not going to have any responsibility regarding those structures. That will strictly be on the town.
Yeah, the pumping station will be handled by the town too, correct, Norm?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
I don't know. I think there may very well be a safety concern. Dick, if you're willing to call Joe or Tim, I think that would probably not be a bad idea.
Okay.
Norm, can you tell me exactly where this is? Because I missed that.
Where what is?
The pumping station?
Pump station. This is the pump station right on Main Street.
Okay.
You know, almost right next to what's the name of the place? Studio in the Woods or whatever.
Okay. Thank you.
Marcia.
Yeah, Marshall Warrington's.
Warrington's. Yeah. Rufus Putnam House. All right, now, are you going to talk about the homeowners?
Well, I don't have an awful lot, you know, to say about it, other than as far as, you know, that list of questions that came in, Mr. Blair had at least somewhat, I guess, agreed to, you know, talk with homeowners about some of those things. I guess he hasn't given us a formal report or anything like that, but apparently, according to Dave, I guess he has talked with some of them. I also talked briefly with Mike Nicholson regarding this, and the best that I can come up with at this point is it is an issue between the builders and the homeowners. I don't believe we really have any role in doing anything further with it.
What bothers me is the fact that why can't I remember the HOAs having responsibility for detention ponds? I've never heard that until now. Where the heck did it come from? Because I would have never have had it. It's a town responsibility in my book, not theirs.
I rather also thought so.
Yeah, and trying to read through the stuff here, I cannot find where, you know, it's something that just doesn't jive.
Yeah, I thought it fell to the Conservation Commission.
Norm, I thought that's where it was. I thought the Conservation Commission was responsible for cleaning the detention ponds.
Cleaning the detention pond, having the developer clean it, not the homeowners, and then later on, when the town get over, it's the town's responsibility. On all the other subdivisions, it's the town's responsibility. That's why there's easements. They're getting across people's yards to get to the detention ponds for cleaning.
Right.
Or any other situation.
Well, can we have it taken out of the agreement then?
Well, let me ask a question. Is the town
I've never heard this
because they have the equipment and then back charging the homeowners agreement?
I guess
something new. I don't know where the heck it's coming from.
I guess first of all, I'd have to ask, in that, in any kind of record, including in the HOA, is there any specific mention of maintenance of the detention ponds? And I don't think there is.
I think, Norm, it just says yearly maintenance and upkeep. It doesn't specifically call out what yearly maintenance and upkeep.
Yeah, but of what?
Yeah, and I think that would be where the definition.
And to me, it was when Addison was on. We used to talk about the open space, for the homeowners to be taking care of the, walking trails to that open space piece of property, and that was about all they were involved in.
That is what I recall.
Yes.
If I may speak to the board, my name is Michael Naya. I'm at 76 Ave. I think I can answer that question. So I've looked at the 20-page homeowners trust document, and I think page 9 of 20, section 2.1 talks about the maintenance of the drainage pond, and it looks like it's on us, the HOA, to handle that. And if you guys have the document, you can open it up and look at. But
yep,
it looks like the HOA has to take it, which doesn't make any sense. But can I just ask the board a simple question, because it kind of came up with my attorney. So she mentioned that Blair's attorney said that there are no plans to have a fence around the retention pond, and that the town doesn't want one. So is that true or is that not true?
That is true.
That is true.
Is that anywhere in a document I can look at it? Because I was under the impression that Blair was going to have that taken care of before he hands it over to HOA.
Norm, wasn't that a waiver that we granted?
That is in our minutes. That's
So
in
it's
our
in the
minutes,
town.
and
Okay.
that I've been on the board for 20, almost 27 years, something like that now, and
Sorry, you kind of broke off there at the end.
day one, no fences whatsoever around. No detention pond will have a fence around it unless you put one around Long Pond.
So can I ask a follow-up question and then I'll wrap it up? So since Blair's gonna put up a trail a path connecting to the trail, and I think some of us mentioned that could be with young kids walking and playing around, could be safety hazard. So has the town thought about other options?
I don't recall that we have ever had any discussion regarding that, to be perfectly honest with you.
I believe when we had the meeting a couple of weeks ago, I think somebody brought it up that it'd be a safety issue. Because I mean, you said I think was it Norm or Dick who took a look at the retention pond, and I mean, there's a lot of water in it, it's collecting water. It's not really draining, and if somebody falls in there, if a child falls in there, they could, drown. That's all I have.
If somebody falls into Long Pond, they could drown too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the reasoning why.
I mean, there's a stream right down in back of that detention pond as well.
Yeah.
A river. We're not going to have that fenced either.
Hi, my name's Maria Rambakis, 69 Woodside Ave. I'm sorry. I disagree with. I mean, I don't know if you have children, grandchildren. I have looked at statistics. I mean, in 2017, the U.S. Centers of Disease Control, 700 deaths involved children drowning. In Massachusetts, the drowning. If you could just finish, if you can let me finish.
Yes.
100,000 residents, 0.6 is drowning. Okay. I get that you're talking about a retention pond, but I want a show of hands from the board. Who's come out here and looked at the retention pond?
Right here, was there today.
I was there yesterday.
You were there today.
Yeah.
So they just drained a little bit about it. They drained it this week, right? The water level did go down this week. But I can tell you right now that it doesn't take much for a kid to drown. And if you looked at the rail trail entrance, it's right next to that retention pond. Now, I have a 4-year-old at home, and we are very careful, but there's people that are going to be coming in through that rail trail that has nothing to do with me or my family. And if that retention pond is part of my responsibility as a homeowner in these estates, is that family going to sue me and the people that live in this neighborhood? Who is liable? I mean,
if I may,
understand what
yeah,
go ahead.
Yes, see, the responsibility of something like that would not fall on the homeowner, because you're not responsible for the safety of the people. You're responsible for maintaining the efficacy of the drainage.
When I think of maintenance, I think of if I have a sidewalk in front of my house, my maintenance of the sidewalk in front of my house when it snows is to make sure that it's accessible for all people to go by. So that means I would snow blow it, correct? That's making it accessible for people to use the sidewalk. So now I have this retention pond that is supposed to be water inside of it. So how is not maintaining it making sure that nobody falls into it? I'm sorry, that wording is very vague. And unless I get something in written document from this town, I find it really hard to have this kind of faith that no one will drown in my retention pond in my neighborhood. I'm sorry. I may be alone, but I want something in writing stating that.
Are you looking for?
And
this is Tim Norwell. Are you looking for wording for a lawsuit, or what type of wording you're looking for?
Well, here's the thing. In Rutland, if there's a pool, do people have to have fences around their pool?
That's a state law, if I'm not mistaken. It's not a Rutland law.
It's a state law, correct? So I think I'd like somebody from the state to what is the state codes on retention ponds? I mean, I get nobody's going into Long Pond. People fish. They do all these things around the pond. But I don't know about you, but I get that they just drowned a little bit of the water. It takes 2 seconds for someone to drown. And I want to make sure that the town understands that we have this in writing, that we have talked about safety.
Yeah, I don't think that would fall upon the town. I mean, I don't mean to sound callous, because I have 3 children myself. 3 little children at that. It's a parent's due diligence to make sure that their kids don't play around in structures like that.
Hey, before we go any farther with this, through the chair, Norm.
Yeah.
I think this is a question that I'm not a lawyer, and I don't want to be a lawyer. So is this something we give to David to put this question, the legalities and then the safety, not only through our attorney, but through Chief Buckley, because he's responsible for the DPW of the town. I mean, so I guess before we start seeing things that we're not legally for,
I agree.
Some legal advice.
And
I guess my understanding is that that rail trail access road, I'm not worried about the 100 houses. I'm worried about that one person that comes off that rail trail that's unsupervised, not the 100 families, because we're obviously watching out for it, but it's that one person that comes into the neighborhood that can kind of interrupt everything. And I totally understand, but that's my concern. And I know, Dick, you talked about how a retention pond should not be on the neighborhood. It should be on the town. This HOA, I mean, I can see an open space, your sidewalk, the woods behind you or the woods next to you, but something that has to do with nature and the water going through, that seems like a very town-driven thing. So I'm sorry, I just wanted to make sure I was heard.
And also, it would be a good idea. I'd like to talk to maybe Concom about those detention ponds. That after the houses are put in and seeded and everything else and stabilized, are those detention ponds, are all of them needed?
That's kind of interesting.
because they're usually there for construction purposes.
Yeah. My only particular concern about at least some parts of this discussion, I talked briefly with Mike Nicholson about this whole situation, and he expressed a real reluctance about us particularly giving any kind of legal advice or getting legal opinions on this kind of stuff.
Okay. Well, Norm, I wanted to also say in Article 6 of the HOA, it talks about the bylaws of the trust and organization established by the homeowners. And one section in there, which is section 17, it talks about the trust obtaining insurance covering the drainage easement property or property of the trust. So it's discussing getting insurance that can cover any type of, if you want to call it lawsuit insurance. And again, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but that's in part of the documents that's provided as part of the HOA.
Yeah, I read part of that, and it says that they may.
Yeah.
It doesn't say they have to.
Can I just interject for a minute? This is David Alex from 72 Woodside Ave. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
I just wanted to say that the HOA wasn't disclosed at all to anyone, so we need to take like 12 steps back. It was basically snuck under the radar. It wasn't on the deed. It wasn't reported by any broker, any real estate agent, any lawyer. It wasn't even brought up during the time of purchase. Excuse me?
I hear where you're coming from, but that's not purview of the planning board. That I would talk with your attorney and your realtor on that issue. I assure you, it wasn't snuck in by the planning board.
You guys oversee this stuff too, though. I mean, do we get any support from the town at all against Blair that this has been deceitful? I mean, nobody even knew about this. And now we're going to have to pay money to support things that we didn't even purchase.
Well, if I may, through the chair, Norm, it was under my impression that it was in the documentation that you signed when you signed your mortgage.
It wasn't. I can tell you, my lawyer sent me the documentation, and it's not in the paperwork that I signed the day of purchase.
Can I?
We're going down a path that's not ours.
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable about discussing this, sir. I would request that you talk to your attorney.
Norm, is this the discussion you had with Mike Nicholson, where we're getting into a gray area in our expertise?
Sort of. I guess.
Excuse me, can I say something?
Yes.
My name is Gene Cougar. I'm at 71 Woodside Avenue, Brice Estates. I just want to let the board know that Dave is absolutely correct, that nobody knew anything about the Brice-Lemon Trust or the HOA. If you go and look at a multiple listing, okay, from the multiple listing system, and look at how Blair presents the property to brokers, there's a section in the lower right-hand corner that specifically states HOA, Homeowners Association, and it's blank. It's not filled in, nor are there any notes in the agent's notes and the public notes stating that this property is a trust, which will later be transferred over to an HOA. So from the very beginning, from jump, it sounds like it's not full disclosure. It sounds like it's deceitful. Okay, so if it's not in the listing, why is it not in the listing? If it's a common fact that everybody should know this, then why did the Blair building not put it in their listings, which is, you could access the multiple listing system, check out their listings to Brice Estates, and you'll see that under, in the lower right-hand corner, homeowners association, it's left blank. That's all I have. And as far as liability, Maria, last meeting 2 weeks ago, asked, what happens if somebody drowned? And there was dead silence from the board, and somebody on the board said, that's a good question. 2 weeks later, we're talking about the same thing, and the board has no answer, and all you're saying is, we don't know. You had 2 weeks to find out first. So I don't like that.
I'm not sure, if I may interrupt you, and I get your point, I'm not sure that it's our responsibility. And it's the same way with the homeowners issue. That's something you're going to have to take up, I would assume, with your attorney and the seller of your property.
The point of the conversation is it's not even put on the listing that other agents, if I want to see some new construction and my agent took me to Brice Estates, it's not even on the listing that the public sees. So why is that? From the very, very beginning, why is that? So
I can't answer Mr. Blair's. That's something you're going to have to ask Mr. Blair, sir. It's not our responsibility. If I made through the chair, sir, it's not our responsibility to make sure the documents are forthcoming.
There was a question about, pardon me, David Alex from Woodside. There was a question about consulting Harry Coates-Seals about the fact, should there be an HOA even started without consulting a lawyer to begin with through your board? Whatever happened with that?
Say that again. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I just read it in the minutes that you guys were questioning whether or not Harry Coates-Seals, the attorney, should have been consulted for the formation of an HOA from the very beginning, from your perspective. I saw that in your minutes. That was something someone was going to follow up on.
Harry, our attorney is KP Law, and they review
yeah,
all
the guy from,
HOAs.
That's what it was about, is KP Law. You guys were going to follow up on some questions about whether it was even, he should have been consulting a lawyer for HOA to start before he even started.
No, sir, if I may through the chair again, sir, that was for the wording of the homeowners association, not whether or not it's disclosed to you.
It's I'm sure it's very, very little comfort, but we have researched and we have found a title report for at least one of the lots on Brice-Lemon, and there is a distinct mention of HOA in that title, and a title basically lists all of the encumbrances, on a piece of property, and it is there. It's obscure. My own personal feeling is that probably isn't sufficient, but by the same token, when it comes to the law, I'm beginning to kind of think he's covered himself.
I know you guys consult lawyers as far as just getting him to pay bills and follow guidelines as it is. I mean, could we get any support whatsoever from our own town? I don't understand that.
Well, I guess I'm just going to say, to do what?
Hi, this is Maria again from 69 Woodside Ave. You said the retention.
Detention.
Oh, whatever. I'm sorry. Detention pond. Sorry. You said Long Pond is one of them, correct?
No.
Oh, no. What pond did you say?
No, I was mentioning Long Pond. If there was a fence put around Long Pond, then.
Oh, okay. No, I just wanted to know, Dick, I don't know your last name. It just says your first name. So you're the DPW, correct?
No, he's a planning
board. Oh, okay. So what are the steps in order to get, who does the making sure it's up to code and up to, who's the person who inspects it? Is it just the regular housing inspector? How do we know that everything is up to code? Is there a specialist in Rutland that looks at those things, or do they just hire the regular house inspector?
Are you talking about the pond, ma'am?
Yes, the pond.
That's the engineer. That's Quinn Engineering. That is our engineer for the town.
Yes. But
So he would come.
If I may, he is ensuring though that the design works for what it's meant to do, not really safety issues on it.
No, just to make sure that it runs correctly. That's true? This person is the one that comes, inspects it, make sure it's up to code, and all of that. Correct?
That's correct.
And before it gets built, he also checks the calculations on the plans before the plans are approved.
Okay. So is there a way you can you please say his name so I can email him personally? Do we have an email or something you can share with us so that way we can talk about maybe coming at the same time so we can talk about what our concerns are? I mean, there's a drop. I know that he's not finished, but it's not like you walk into the pond. It is a drop. I went there today. It's a drop. There's no like, oh, I walk right into the pond in the water. It is a drop. So I just want to know what are the standards that he has to go by?
Well, I'm not, if I may, through the chair again, I'm not an engineer, but those ponds are not meant to have people really be around them,
really?
as far as going into them.
So Sean, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. You know what's so funny is I've been living in here. So I've been one of the first homeowners. And it's interesting because one day there was somebody ice skating on the pond. Now, that person did not live on this property or anywhere on these properties. Now, they came ice skating. So now you're telling me that the water is not supposed to be a lot, but someone was ice skating this winter. So I'm just trying to get the logistics.
Yeah, that's
Isn't
not
that
allowed.
dangerous?
Yeah, I would say it's very dangerous.
Yeah, but it's
the town, are you liable, or is the town liable if that child person was to fall through the ice and potentially die?
It's up to the developer.
That's what we're talking about, though.
No,
yeah.
I just want to give you another example of, I get that we're talking in circles. It's really frustrating when we weren't told about this, and now we're told that we might have to get insurance about someone either dying or getting hurt, and it's going to be on us as homeowners that we pay taxes in this town. We all pay taxes, and we pay really good taxes. It's very frustrating that I have to worry about these things.
Okay, just two things really quickly here. Number one, these detention basins are built according to the regulations under, I believe it's the Watershed Protection Act, which is state law. That includes their capacities, the drainage, the slopes on the sides, and that sort of thing. So they are built to very, very definite specifications. Number two, these detention ponds during construction, like is underway right now, they serve a little bit different purpose. Among other things, they serve to collect silt and runoff that will not be there when the subdivision is finished. And when the construction around those detention ponds is done, the detention ponds will be cleaned, they will be finished, and at that point they will function as they are supposed to, which means to hold a minimal amount of water for a very short time.
Norm, or through the chair, that's part of our road acceptance too in the phases, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So those roads will not be accepted by the towns until that standard is satisfied.
Okay, the other thing, and again, I forget again who exactly it was asking, I know it was Maria, about being able to contact our engineering firm. I do not think it would be wise for us to, are we willing to tell anyone? Yes, it's Quinn Engineering. That's no secret. But beyond that, I don't feel it would be appropriate for us to give anything further. Yep.
They can go to our minutes and see Quinn Engineering's reports.
That is correct. They can also, actually, through freedom of information, they can get a copy of the plan for the whole subdivision in detail that shows exactly how the detention ponds were supposed to be built.
And link to the back.
You know,
If I'm
compare
not
for
mistaken,
themselves.
Norm, in the back of the plans, the calculations for the detention ponds are there too.
Right.
I just have one quick question. My name's Sean from 73 Woodside. What's the reasoning behind no fences around detention ponds? I mean, Holden, almost everyone you see in a subdivision has a fence around it, and many communities I travel to across Massachusetts all have fences around these ponds in highly populated areas, such as shopping centers, malls, any big complex or apartment complex all have fences around these ponds. Why doesn't Rutland require them or want them?
I think it's partly just I'll call it a philosophy. We have so many streams, rivers, lakes, swamps, other water bodies throughout the town.
I understand.
That, if we're not going to, if we're not going to protect all of those, why should we be doing it to the detention ponds? Any other planning board member can comment on that.
These are drainage systems. I understand water all flows back to a pond, stream, lake, river, whatever. But these are man-made infrastructures of ponds that are supposed to hold water, and all our storm drains all run, after sediment traps, all run into that detention pond, which is a man-made entity.
And if you put a fence up and you need to put in an excavator or something in there to clean it out, and you got a permanent fence, you're screwed.
Yeah, but these all have gates that are made for that reason. But they all have 10-foot wide gates on multiple sides, multiple ends.
And then, yeah, well, let's see you go around it and clean it out right. Now,
Marilyn?
This is Carly Mead from 73 Woodside. So if Blair were to put in a fence around the pond before it is turned over to the town, is that an issue that the town would have? If the homeowners went to Blair and said, we would like a fence around the detention pond, are they able to do that before it gets turned over to the town?
Ooh.
Or is that something that the town has to agree upon?
Norm did, and Dick, this is Tim through YouTube. Didn't we give a waiver for that, so we'd have to undo the waiver?
I don't believe so. I don't believe we even have anything in our regulations about fences on detention ponds.
Okay.
That is correct.
I'll let the rest of the board speak for themselves. If Mr. Blair volunteered to put a fence around this due to the concerns of the homeowners, I'd have a pretty hard time objecting to it.
I wouldn't. I'm fine with it.
I'd be fine with it. But I would like to say something, and that is that I think that we're all kind of chasing a ghost here, or trying to catch a dog's tail, and we don't really have the facts in front of us. And some of your problems that are, your concerns are definitely have merit, but most of them are not things that the planning board is in charge of. And I don't know how many of you have looked at exactly what the owners association is in charge of. I think that it might be, I certainly haven't studied it very much, but I think that it might be a lot less involved in what you would be in charge of doing than you think that it might be. So my suggestion would be to get some information, and you know, I just have the feeling that we're jumping on rocks in the river without really understanding or having the knowledge of what it is involved. So
we weren't told, so it's hard to know.
Sorry, can I respond to Mike Naya, 76 Woodside Ave? So I've looked at a 20-page document, and they gave my main concerns were the fence around the detention pond, the liability issue that looks like you guys can't really help us, and the fees. I think there's a section in section 9.3 talks about the detention basin fund, and I don't even know how much money is in that fund. From the looks of it, it says every homeowner pays a $50 fee. I don't even know if it's a yearly fee, a monthly fee, who knows? But I've looked at a document, and there's a lot of info that doesn't make any sense. It's kind of sad that Mr. Blair is not on the call today, and he still hasn't answered our questions. So I understand you can't really help us, but you know, it's we have a lot of questions and not getting answers.
Okay, that $50 fee is $50 that Mr. Blair contributes to the fund on the sale of each house.
I understand that by looking at the document, but again, I didn't even know that fund existed.
Oh, actually, I think it's turned, he has to make that payment as part of the settlement, I believe, but that could be totally wrong on that.
Again, if I may, through the chair, this is a question he would need to ask his attorney.
But through Norm Anderson, I have a question. What if we were to recall?
We lost you there for a minute, Dick.
I lost you, Dick.
The HOA and turn all the things over to the town. Can we pull the HOA out of this subdivision?
Not an open space. No, that's part of the subdivision regs, if I'm not mistaken, Norm.
Yeah, I think you're
Yeah.
right, Tim.
Yeah.
No, it was 5 different organizations. Land could go to, and one of them was the town of Rutland. You turn everything over to the town.
Oh, wait, you're talking about ownership of the open space.
Correct, and that would take care of everything. Then they would not own anything. It'd be the town would have the ownership of the open space and the detention ponds. I'm telling you, for crying out loud, I'm like I say, I'm upset because this is the first time this thing has really come to a head, and I don't know where it's coming from. If it's Blair's HOA, and such a heck of a document.
Well, hold on.
I just feel that I'd like to hear from Amy. Is there any way to yank it?
I suppose we could inquire.
Well, one of the questions I would like clarified is exactly what the planning board is responsible for. The state regulation says that open space development has to have a homeowners association, but that's it.
No, Marilyn, I think Dick is, if I may, Dick, you're asking to have the part of the detention pond removed from the HOA, correct?
And also the open. Everything.
Well, I'm in agreement that the subdivision should not be responsible for the detention ponds. No other retention ponds are in the town are held to the homeowner's responsibility. Every other one's being taken care of by the town, which I think sets precedent.
I don't think you can say that.
Yeah, Norm, I was going to say the same thing. I'm not sure we can say that.
Well, I mean, I've been on Concom for 9 years. Those 9 years I spent on Concom, I don't recall, like you say, I could be wrong, and I'm not an attorney. I don't recall any. I've always heard that the town took care of the detention ponds. That's only 9 years going from this year back. Any subdivision that was built before that, I honestly don't know, but I do think that, you know, the maintenance of it, since it is going into the wetlands, it should be held accountable by the town. That's just my opinion. If to be taken out of the HOA, I'm okay with that.
The reality, I believe, is that for all of the detention ponds that we have in town, it is likely nothing has been done to any of them by anyone since any of them have been built.
Correct.
I can agree with that as well, because there are trees in some of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
So not that that's any real comfort, but it seems to me that the idea of this becoming a significant financial burden on anyone is pretty darn slim.
From the standpoint, Norm, that this homeowners trust that is recorded at the Registry of Deeds, this is pretty much a boilerplate one. So my thought process is this has probably been used in our other open space homeowners agreements that are in place. I'm not saying that the town hasn't taken over and done the detention ponds, but I'm just saying this is pretty much a boilerplate.
Yeah, and I know, well, all of the Brunel subdivisions had homeowners associations.
Correct.
And I don't know how many detention ponds there were there, to be perfectly honest.
There's quite a few. And you saw what happened to that. That thing got folded, and I've asked the select board where it is, and they won't answer me because the trails were never taken care of, and the town was supposed to take it over.
Mm-hmm.
But
sorry, may I add something very, very quickly? Again, this is Mike, 76 Woodside Ave.
Yes.
Could you guys go to section 2.1, please, on the first page of the document, the trust? And it pretty much, the main reason the trust was set up was to maintain and preserve the detention pond. Right. So if you dissolve the HOA, then I guess everything else goes away.
Well, if I may, from my time on Concom, I'm not too sure about the detention ponds, but as far as like the trails that go into the open space, that is the responsibility of the homeowner. Like when Rutland had the ice storm back in 2008, in all reality, I remember speaking on the Conservation Commission that if the town deemed necessary, they could make the people clear out a lot of the dead brush. Now, the town hasn't, but that's just the same thing as a lot of the detention ponds around here. The maintenance gets put on the wayside, and that's kind of with the same in this state, how maintenance it's put on the wayside. Again, my opinion.
Norm, not being an attorney, but to Michael's point on section 2.1, that section 2 says something about maintaining, preserving the drainage easements and all other related privileges and appurtenances related thereto as shown on said plan. That last part, I think that's what picks up the rail trails and all of the other issues, all the other items in the open space permit, the open space design, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one says maintaining, preserving the ways, servicing the lots and all other related privileges and appurtenances related. I mean, those last two, I get the first one is on the drainage and the detention pond, but the last two are in my mind, pertaining to the open space portion of our bylaw. So that's where I'm struggling with dissolving this thing. I guess what, to Sean's point, I don't know what I need legal, because this is recorded. It's not something, I mean, to unrecord this from the registry of deeds, I'm not sure what that takes. You'd have to have an override or something, overriding document to go over this.
Well,
this is already recorded on deeds and titles.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I wouldn't even begin to think how that's legally going to happen unless you do quick claim deeds. And again, I'm not an attorney, so I'm not giving any legal advice.
Yeah,
but
I'm not either. I somehow
It's not all the deeds.
I don't think we could just hold a public hearing and amend our approval.
Correct. That's what I'm getting
Probably
at.
not. All right.
So again, Mike here again, just a quick follow up to that. So can you guys reach out to the town's attorney about part 2 and 3 as far as what if it's still, I know you talked about open space, so with HOAs we still be responsible for the open space? Because again, I'm not a lawyer, and that legalese verbiage doesn't make much sense to me at all. It feels like it's open-ended.
If I may, through the chair, I think that would be something that you would have to speak with the zone attorney. As far as our attorneys, we had our attorneys look over the writing of this HOA. Apparently, I mean, they give it their okay. Am I correct on that?
I believe so. It's been a while. It's been a while.
Okay. Then I would assume that he needs to speak with his own attorney on that.
I guess I'm just getting a little bit more curious that Mr. Blair seems to be saying that these HOAs are pretty much universal in subdivisions now.
Yeah.
I'd like to know if that's true.
This is Carly Mead from 73 Woodside. Clee told us that in the last 15 years, an HOA has been put on every single subdivision he's done in Rutland and in Holden.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading in the state documents that any open space subdivision is required to do an HO, whatever.
HOA, yep, no. So it's required.
Well, it'd be interesting because I didn't think there was a homeowners association for Central Tree.
That's over 50. Well, wasn't that done in the early 2000s?
Well, Gary was here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's going back a ways.
It does go back a ways, but still.
Didn't Blair keep ownership of the open space in Central Tree?
I thought so. Yeah.
He may have kept it, but it's under. It was MDC at the time, DCR. They have. Major jurisdiction over it. And was there HOA on Bear Hill? I don't remember one on Bear Hill.
I don't think Bear Hill is open space.
I'm sorry, I need to excuse myself. I need to switch over to another laptop. I'll be back in a couple minutes.
Okay.
My battery's about to die.
What other open space?
I don't recall there being any open space on Bear Hill.
Yeah, you're probably right. And how about Noble Hill? Nothing ever mentioned there.
Noble Hill is open space.
There's open space, yes, but I don't remember any HOA there.
Well, that might be a little bit premature because he hasn't even started construction on it.
That's correct, but I mean, he's got signed plans and everything else. And it has been set aside, the open space for rec has been set aside.
Well, it seems to me that we have at least a couple maybe general questions for town
Amy?
council.
Yeah.
Well, some clarification on some of the language. Like I say, I'm just I guess I'm beginning to wonder where the idea of HOA came from.
I can tell you, Norm, it's there's a fact page from a law office in Boston, basically saying often a homeowner association is created in order to own one shared facility, such as road, water, treatment facilities. So it looks to me, based upon this just FAQs that are out there, that homeowners association were put together for common owned facilities, which is open space and anything else that was in that subdivision.
Mm-hmm.
So where did detention ponds come from?
I can't answer that one because it's vague. It says road or water treatment. So that could be detention. It could be a treatment facility. Again, it's just an FAQ page I found at Pugini and Norton LLP in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got a whole page about homeowners agreements and restrictions. And the big thing that they say is in Massachusetts, homeowners associations, also called HOAs, are not governed by a particular law the way that condominiums associations are. So that's just to put that out there. It sounds to me like it's a different set of rules. So I don't know if it's not any help, but it's more information as we form these questions for Amy.
And I think it would be a good idea, Norm, if we may have a joint meeting over like Zoom here, just with the planning board and Amy.
Well, we'd have to make sure that we have formulated, good and correct questions.
I agree.
And possibly get them to her early so she can do some research.
Well, yes, putting her on the spot.
I don't want to do that.
I'm sure she's very knowledgeable, but
I'm just saying I would like to have a joint meeting. I think would be better so we can ask all the questions that we can.
Mm-hmm.
Or we'll come up with what we can we can do right now, but
okay.
Wow.
I guess I'll at least leave some of this as homework unless you want to really get into it right now for people to come up with the particular questions.
And we should, Norm, send those to you and Dave?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you've already got some of the questions from the homeowners too.
I was going to ask about that through the chair.
In there
Dave,
also. So.
Has any of those questions, have they been put? Because I remember somebody, I don't know if it was Dave or somebody, said a lot of those questions were like DPW questions. Did we go through, or were we going to go through and pick out and see if any of these questions? I mean, I agree. A lot of these are questions that are outside the purview of the planning board, but
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Once again, this was a part where I think Mike Nicholson kind of said to be very careful.
Okay.
Just kind of try to find those list of questions.
They're on the third page of the packet that Dave sent us. I mean, the one that jumped out at me was, what impact would terminating HOA have on street acceptance? I don't know if we can do that because it's part of a bylaw. We can't change a bylaw unless the town votes on it, unless the town changes in town meeting. So
right,
we couldn't that one. The answer to that is we can't terminate an HOA for an open space bylaw. It can't happen.
I'm going to say no, we can't.
Yeah.
You can't retroactively change a bylaw.
Correct. Yes. So a lot of these questions that went here about terminating the HOA, because the homeowners weren't given the proper notice, I don't think the board has any authority to do any of that. And Norm, I don't want to speak legally. This is all hearsay because, again, I'm not an attorney and I'm not a legal, but based on my knowledge of Rutland bylaws, we can't go back and change a bylaw, then retroactively force a developer to follow that bylaw retroactively.
Right. Okay.
But the first question, David, did we point anybody in the direction of the legal document, the HOA? Because obviously, I can see some of the citizens have found it and were able to review it. So that, I presume, was taken care of.
If I may add, this is Mike again, 76 Woodside. I found, I went through your meeting notes and I was able to go to the Deeds website and then found the trust document. So
okay.
I can share that with the group later.
Okay.
But I guess maybe the question is, was there any, I know I also read in some of the meeting notes about the town bylaws. So could you guys maybe help me or point me where it states in the town bylaws that any open space subdivision needs to have a HOA? I mean, you don't have to answer today. It could be,
it is
next time, whatever.
Where I found it was a state.
So it's a state law, not a town law, because it looks like. Sorry.
Norm, it's in our open space subdivision bylaws, if I'm not mistaken.
I would say yes.
I can just tell you where to find that. That's under section 35C of the zoning bylaw. The zoning bylaw is available online through the town's website.
Thank you.
I mean, and then like the fourth question, it asks, please confirm that maintenance and upkeep of the drainage system is a responsibility of Blair until the neighborhood is construction is 100% complete. And then it says confirm Blair will be required to do a final cleanup after the neighborhood is 100% complete due to construction impacts. I think it's not so much on construction, it's road acceptance, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah. So before the town will accept the road, everything's got to be cleaned up and correctly built and as built. So I guess that question is yes, he's responsible for everything until the road is turned over to the town.
But the homeowners association is required to upkeep the drainage pipes. That one there that's 20-something feet deep. Remember that one?
Oh, the one that's coming out of the
upper hill.
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know that for an answer. I mean, is it
to me that should be town responsibility. They accept the road. They accept what's underneath it, not the doggone homeowners.
I feel like I'm Maria, 69 Woodside Ave. I think Dix understands us because I feel like we're speaking the same language. So thank you for understanding how we're feeling right now.
Dick, is that a question? I mean, that's a simplistic question for Buckley.
Well, not only Buckley, but to me, Amy, hey, come on, this should not be. Other parts of this town that had subdivisions done, the homeowners were never required to take care of this stuff. All of a sudden, it's popping up. What the heck is going on here? It's not right. It's not equal to the other residents of Rutland. What's going on here? So they're.
Well, yeah, I guess this is a question for Chief Buckley. Is the intent to enforce the homeowners agreements throughout the town of Rutland? Norm, I guess that's the question. I guess is mine to the Chief Buckley, because Dick has a good point. If Brice-Lemon's going to be the only one, I don't see that as fair and equitable.
Well, never mind fair. It's something. I realize most of this kind of stuff would be, many years down the road, but I just can't picture the town saying that, after 25 years of a pipe out of a detention pond collapses, that the homeowners are going to be responsible for replacing it. That's wrong.
I know, but to Maria's point, it's going to be dependent upon the chief. I mean, if he follows the letter of the law and this homeowners agreement, he could enforce it. I'm not saying that he should. I'm just saying if he follows the letter of the law by this agreement, he can force that to be handled by the homeowners. That's why I wanted to get a feeling of what the thought process was, and then it's recorded in our minutes.
That was my if I may share, that was my example with the open space, how they're. I know that like with the ice storm, the homeowners were supposed to go in and clean up the trails into all those open spaces, and it's never been enforced. Now that's the town's fault, but yeah, if the town wanted to enforce it, they had the legal right, I would imagine.
I think one of the things we need to know is that these homeowners associations, are they really just put on, something on paper, or are they enforced by other towns in Massachusetts?
Well, I know for a fact, Marilyn, that Holden enforces their homeowners agreement pretty effectively. Their
Holden is in a
DPW
world
chief,
of their
yeah, I'm just that's the only one I can cite off of my head, that they enforce theirs pretty directly for the homeowners to pay a lot of the fees.
Can I
mean,
just chime in for a second about that?
Uh-huh.
Sean from 73 Woodside. I spoke to several DPW members pertaining to this in Holden, and they know nothing about the HOA and fees, anything like that. And they are the sole maintainers of these same ponds in multiple subdivisions and properties around town that are owned by the town.
They don't back charge, huh? Interesting.
Nope.
That's not... Now I'm going to call. Okay, thanks. I'm going to find it out.
Well, I think we've got a course to take now.
Yep.
And I don't know how much more you want to do before we move on.
Well, I don't think we're going to come up with any more answers right here now.
I agree.
So we've definitely got some, at least the seeds for some questions for town council. I'm pretty sure we have decided there are some things we cannot do. We cannot make that HOA go away. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Right.
And I guess
yeah.
Just from that one comment from whoever it was that talked with the DPW workers in Holden, that yeah, they have the HOAs there, and the town is maintaining it, and they're not charging the homeowners.
I'm going to talk to the chief tomorrow, Norm.
That would be very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Because maybe it's one of these things where really the town cannot charge them.
Yeah, but he has Mr. Blair over for Beryl, and Mr. Blair has to put in other infrastructure in lieu of. You need to speak to his contractor.
Okay. Well, and then the other thing, Norm, that was requested by citizens was the fence, the discussion about the fence.
Mm-hmm.
Is that one? Would we have to discuss that with Mr. Blair, or?
Well, the way she framed that was she was talking about the homeowners going to Blair.
Okay.
To put the fence up, and her question was, would we have any objection to it?
Well, the answer is no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cousin is the director of the DPW in Bellingham. I'll give him a call.
Okay.
See how it works in his territory.
I personally don't want to see fences put up around them. I'm old-fashioned. That's just the problem.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have to agree on that. And if we lived out in the middle of Iowa where there were no hills, no valleys, and probably no streams and ponds,
yeah,
okay, maybe, but we're not. Okay, anything else regarding Brice-Lemon?
No, I don't.
No.
Okay.
Hi, this is Nick Nugent. Just one quick thing on Brice-Lemon. I live at 9 Sedona Circle.
All set.
Yep.
I just wanted to just put it out there. You know, if the fence around the pond is going to be a holdup, just for you guys to have in your notes, at least a fence or some type of structure protecting the actual trail, which is going to be in close proximity to the detention pond. I don't really see it on Blair being generous enough to put a fence up on his own dime. But at least if you guys go to him with your requirements of the trail, that there needs to be some type of fence or railing where it passes in close proximity.
What's everybody else's thoughts on that one?
I'll go along with that.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
That's the same thing on a bridge. If you go by a bridge, you've got to have some type of retention to make sure it falls over the side. So, I mean, I'm okay with that.
Picket type fence, something other than, aesthetically. I still think it's the due diligence of the person to keep an eye on their kids.
So this is Maria from 69 Woodside Ave. So, okay, we live in New England, ice, snow. Woodside Ave is going to be a downhill. And if you drive down from phase 2 towards Charnock Hill, there is a little bit of a turn. So is there going to be a guardrail set up? So that way, at least for protection of cars driving over the edge. So it's not drowning, but someone could potentially take a turn, a really bad turn, and end up in that ditch. I mean, I'm just playing a different side of that.
I'm about 99% sure there is no guardrail required on that stretch.
Yeah.
And you have A-berm, was it A-berms plus a concrete or granite backing for the drain? And I believe there's a drain close to this, so plus the electrical box that was standing up. I think you're going to find there might be a few things sticking there, and we'll see what happens. But I cannot see a guardrail.
And I get it too. That hill is going to be very inviting for kids to sled down.
It's up to the parents to tell them to,
Yeah, that's it. That's.
Well, I work in a school, and I love that you guys have all this faith in parents, and I get it. Sean, I'm looking at Sean's face right now, and he knows exactly what I'm talking about. And so he's second guessing it. So I just want to throw it out there that you guys all are feeling the same thing that we're feeling.
But you have to understand what's our legal position. Think about morals. Legally, what can and can't we do?
I get the open spaces that have woods, and we have to maintain the open spaces with woods because really there's not going to be things. But when it comes to sewers, things that are right below our roads that we have no idea what's going on, I mean, that seems very town oriented. So I think that it's continuously circling. Yes, we are in charge of sidewalks. We're in charge of the woods behind us that are open space. But a pond, that has sewers and water. I mean, that seems very town oriented. And I know that you guys have all talked about it. I mean, Dick has circled back. It just seems like it's going circling and circling. You guys are now kind of seeing what we're talking about. So I would just love to know what the next steps would be.
Well, we've identified that we were going to talk with our attorneys for one thing.
Yeah, and that's really at this point about it. A question I brought up to Dave, and I don't know what any of you people think about it, but you realize in the other subdivisions, the sewer pump stations were actually on private lots.
Correct, except this one is not.
Except this one is not. No, we decided to change that so the sewer pump stations were contained within part of the right-of-way.
Correct.
What I'm wondering is, and this is for the future, we can't do it now, I don't think, but for the future, if detention pond should also be included in the right-of-way that the town takes over.
Good point. Love it.
I think that's an excellent point. Then that would be taken out of the HOA.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that'll be good for our business meeting to rewrite, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, we just don't want to have Joe Buckley around.
Well, if he's got to take care of these anyhow, I mean, it'd be better to know about it than get dropped on it. You know?
Yeah.
So this is our first public hearing, and I make a motion to accept that.
Yeah.
No, haven't opened anything. All right. I think we've got a lot of questions, and we've got questions for our attorney, and we've also got questions.
I know it. Pull it.
For Chief Buckley.
So, okay, next item on our agenda. Agro-tourism, accessory agricultural use bylaw update. Dave?
Right, so almost about a year now, we've been working on the idea of trying to find economic development opportunities for the existing agricultural sector in town. Some way to achieve multiple goals, such as preserving open space and allowing for agriculture to do more than what it can do under the current statutes. So under development has been an accessory use bylaw that would bring in uses for the first time that would be tied to an agricultural endeavor. So that bylaw, we've been working with the Agricultural Commission on some specifications, things that they would like to see or not see. I would say this is a rather expansive bylaw which opens things up. It's not a restrictive bylaw by any means. There are several uses that may currently be as of right, but this bylaw proposal identifies those uses as by right intentionally. And then there are uses that are not currently accessory to agricultural uses at this time, but those uses would be listed as accessory on purpose intentionally. So the bylaw is under development. I'm waiting to hear back from the Agricultural Commission whether or not they want to pursue this further given the constraints of the COVID pandemic and the delay for town meeting.
I had a talk with Randy Dave, and he's looking forward to this.
Oh, good.
I took
Good.
a brief look
I think one thing I'm waiting for is to have the Agricultural Commission just go on the record indicating such so that we have clear direction, and so that the public is aware of the Agricultural Commission's position on this.
Correct.
Yes, through the chair, I've got a question for Dave. Is the bylaw written and it just needs tweaks? I mean, because there's what's the word I'm looking for? There's a warrant article with this on it, and is it going to make it?
Yes, I can answer that question. The bylaw has been drafted. It has been reviewed by town council. Okay. So the next stage would be a review process and a look to see if there's any questions or clarifications that may be necessary. But it's a mature product at this point.
Okay. All right. Is that a zoning bylaw that has to come through us?
Yes.
That's correct.
So we'd have to get meetings set up and everything to get this through sometime in June.
Well, and logistically, we have time to do so. Logistically, if the Agricultural Commission can give a positive sign either prior to or at its next meeting on the 19th, then we would have enough time to do the outreach, to get this listed on Facebook, to have the Cable Commission broadcast a presentation, and to do other forms of outreach, and have the public hearing that's required of the planning board, and also have an opportunity for the planning board bylaw subcommittee to have a look at this.
You guys can tell me what you're thinking, but 6 weeks, huh?
Well, is there a time for town meeting?
Okay,
Has that
no
been
problem.
decided yet?
Well, town meeting has to happen before July 1st as of right now, unless something changes, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that's the town election. The town election has to happen before July 1st. The town meeting can happen after July 1st, at the discretion of the select board. If that's what happens, then the town would be operating on a 1/12 budget for that duration.
Correct.
It's the election. The town election must happen before June 30th.
Okay.
I thought I thought the select board already submitted everything that was all the warrants that they wanted on the agenda already.
There is a place mark for it.
Yep, there is one already.
Okay.
That was my question. And Dave answered, it's a mature product, because I know that there's a warrant article for it, but it hadn't been brought before us, so I was like getting a little worried that it was down to, assuming they were going to set the meeting for the end of June, that we were down to 6 or 7 weeks and how we were going to pull this off.
No, so and despite the COVID pandemic, we have still been working on it. Unfortunately, meetings had to be canceled from the AgCom because of this situation.
Okay.
So
I'm for it. I don't want us to get into a situation where we tell other people we're not going to rush stuff through and then we basically do it. Is what I don't want to say one thing out of one side of my mouth and then do another, is what I was getting at.
If I may, the reasoning behind this.
We'd like, as far as the egg.
Well, excuse me, Dick. Isn't that already happening though? When we have the milk, the tap room, that's happening up at up at Jarvis's farm. Over here at Schultz Farm, they have the ice cream stand, and they have the little restaurant. Isn't that happening already throughout the town? Do we really need a bylaw to allow that?
Yeah, the bigger part of it. You're only seeing a small fraction of it. Weddings, other games and things that can be done, other than, if it's a bylaw there, then they can have it without coming to the town and asking for a special permit for the day.
Okay. So legally, they couldn't hold a wedding up there without having this be on the bylaw? I mean,
I think at this point in time, while these things may have happened from time to time, to say that they're not subject to zoning enforcement would not be correct, because a wedding is not incidental and customary to a typical agricultural use. So if these things have been happening, they've been happening, but this bylaw would give blanket protection to such uses intentionally with a bylaw in a public process, and it would also avoid situations like Summit Winds, if you folks recall that one.
Okay.
Yes,
like I say, this is an expansive, this is not a restrictive proposal by any means. This is an expansive proposal to look for economic development opportunities to serve a thriving and vital economic sector in the town.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm all for it. And I see it happening. I mean,
okay. Anything more on the agro-tourism?
Nope. Only reason, Norm, I just want to find out status is what I was looking for.
Yeah. Okay. The only other thing, I know it's not on our agenda, but just kind of a quick note, I believe we have received 2 applications for estate lots, and I believe Dave has published the notices and set up hearing dates. Correct, Dave?
That's correct. Those items will be taken on the 26th of May.
Can we get a
yeah,
where they're at? Yeah, you read my mind.
I didn't catch that. What was that?
Where were they at?
One is on 0 Palmagussit Road. This has to do with the Goldsmith lots that the board previously granted an A&R for several lots, one of which was an estate lot. The other one is 134 Wachusett, Street, which the board recently granted an A&R for 2 lots, one of the lots being an estate lot. A proposed estate lot in both cases. Proposed.
Okay, that's
So there's a two-part process. I'm sorry to interrupt. There's a two-part process. One, the land has to be created through a land division. That allows the land to be divided, but not the use. The use is allowed through the special permit, which has to happen as a separate process.
And those are the ones that we made them write in the proposed estate lots on their plans, if I remember right.
Yeah, exactly. Because of this reason, yes.
Yep. Okay. I'm good.
Yep.
Okay, anything else to come before the board?
Make a motion to adjourn before the thing goes kaput.
Second.
Here you go.
You heard a second. Roll call. Sean?
Sean, aye.
Marilyn?
Marilyn Sidoti, aye.
Dick?
Williams, aye.
Tim?
Tim Norwald, aye.
And Norm Anderson, aye.